Okay, back in the shop. Just another quick update on today's progress here. So, my current setup is, there's my motor. It's clamped to the bench. I've got a temporary pulley set up here, and there is a V, and it sort of hopefully rides in there most of the time, but with the way that I've set my shafting, if it falls out of this little notch right there, then it'll actually ride up toward the wheel, which I would prefer rather than skipping off the wheel that way. So right now I've set this up so that basically it's just a very loose fit with the belt, and the belt is just a standard Harbor Freight link belt, and the motor is just my 1/3 motor. In order to get the shaft to have good registration with the bench, I use this same V-block setup from yesterday, and I've got one clamp here, but then I couldn't get a clamp in the middle of my bench, so I used this 2x4, which runs the length of the bench, as a really long clamping caul, and it's clamped on both sides. And so that has worked pretty well. The shaft really hasn't moved. And then on this side, I've got a clamp on the shaft to lock the bearing in place here so that it doesn't move in or out. And then on this side, I used my little truing stand thing from yesterday, and I clamped that. So now this really does not move in or out more than a couple thou, which has been helpful for turning. Then I set up over here my my tool stand, I guess, if you want to call it that, which is just a piece of hard maple clamped to the bench. And I've been using some turning tools. So I started out with a skew, and that worked okay, but I actually found more success with this 1/2-inch bowl gouge, or maybe it's a 3/8 inch, let's see. It's 3/8 inch, or 10 millimeter. So I've been using that, and I'm turning it down, and I've got a piece of string right here, which is the exact length, or at least to this little middle of that little black mark there, is the circumference that I'm looking for. So I keep stopping here with work and checking the circumference. So if you see that in the video, that's what I'm doing, is checking the circumference of this, and then once it's done, that'll be it. So, and then I'll put the crown on it, and then we're good to go. Making progress here. So if I spin by hand, you can see that it's actually pretty reasonable even right now. If you're looking at a reference point in the background, you can see that it's actually getting pretty much to the point where it's round. And so then I just need to really get it down to size. It's been taking me a little while. I've probably been at this for about 15 minutes, and I would say I might have 15 or 20 more to go. Simply because the way that this is set up is really loose, and it kind of bogs down a little bit if you put any sort of pressure on the workpiece. So I've been kind of having to go real lightly with the gouge, and that's about it. Thanks. And here's the finished product. It took me way more than 15 minutes. I've probably been at this for approximately an hour and 15 minutes maybe, or an hour and a half today. And some of what I showed you was a sped up version of that. And there's about 45 more minutes as well. So probably about an hour and a half it took me to turn this down. So for the next one, I think I'm going to try and get it a little bit closer maybe with a bandsaw or something. One thing that I did notice was it did help on this right side here to have used the really nice plywood. So as you move through this, you can really see there's almost no chip out right on the edge here. This is a very smooth surface, right pretty much off of my lathe, if you will. On the other side, I didn't use quite as good a product here, and you can see that there's a substantial amount of chip out on these in some places where the grain kind of runs at an angle. It was bound to tear out. So I'll fill those. Shouldn't actually be too much work here. We got just a couple of little splinters. The crowning went pretty well, so there's my crown. It's approximately a 5-degree crown on each side for a total of a 10-degree crown. And there's the finished product. So one wheel down, one wheel to go, and then we can move on. It was fun. Thank you for watching if you've made it this far, and hope you enjoyed. Bye.